To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the off-grid lifestyle, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. Although I said that we weren't going to grow a garden this year, our plan is next year we'll grow a garden in the field that I just cut down. It'd make a good-sized garden. I would like to plant it all in corn. That's my big thing. I like corn, but Carolyn's a big vegetable person, so she's gonna do a lot more. Tomatoes, I like tomatoes, and tomatoes are good because I like her spaghetti. So I would suspect next year we'll have a lot of corn and tomatoes and a few other plants. Potatoes are easy to grow. However, Carolyn insisted that she wanted to grow something, and I don't blame her. I finally got a piece of property. We haven't been able to grow any vegetables in a couple of years. She got some tomatoes and cucumbers and squash and some green beans. We're kind of stuck here on the property like everybody else, you know, the pandemic's going on. So she got creative and used some yogurt canisters, some pudding canisters, and we also got some applesauce canisters. So she's gonna get a few plants out of this. The tomatoes are gonna be really refreshing. Fresh tomatoes, fresh cucumbers, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Get us back in the mood of doing gardening. It's amazing what we've gotten done in 3 weeks, considering the obstacles that we've had to overcome. I mean, it has rained 2 weeks out of the 3. And as you can see here, it's just nothing but mud. It's just water and mud. And so I keep thinking about the well, how well it must be doing, because the well is just right there, by that concrete wall. And so I'm standing taller than that, so I'm 6 foot tall, so that's probably 5 feet down. And here we're saturated with water right here. Things you never think about, you know, in normal life. Now that you're off grid, you're thinking, man, there's so much water here. We're gonna be water rich forever. Even when I come down to here, there's even more water. So the well's gonna do fine this year. And then of course down there's the creek, and it's just not draining off. It's just, everything's so wet. And then, like I said, we got the pandemic, and so we're not able to go out and get supplies or anything. But we stocked up before they shut everything down, got our food. We'll be fine for a month at least. So it's left me a lot of time left over to really work on the trailer. This is where we're gonna build our tiny house. Well, of course, it was raining yesterday. Got my poncho. So I was up here playing around, just looking around. I wasn't working very hard. And I noticed that there's a concrete pad underneath all that muck. That's absolutely incredible. You know, this trailer has to have been in here 40, maybe 50 years. Out here in the middle of the country, and back then I'm sure it was even more country. And there's a concrete pad here. And it goes way back. I mean, I'm excited to see how far back that goes. So I dug that up a little bit yesterday, and it's covered in roots and dirt and particle board. So it was a couple inches thick, which kind of leads me into what I was talking about yesterday. Yesterday's video, I was talking about the fear of starting the off-grid lifestyle. I thought I'd follow up with how easy it has been. There was a lot of research involved. So that probably is the most difficult part. Like I've said in past videos, we decided that we wanted to get out of the nomadic lifestyle and live off-grid back in August. And here it is, it's March, late March. And so that quickly, we were able to accomplish this. Now, we originally had a 4-year plan that we were going to continue to be nomads for 4 years. But Carolyn started researching property, and I kept saying, I don't know why you keep researching property. Well, you know, we'll deal with this in 4 years when we have a better handle on what we want to do. I really thought it was going to be complicated to figure all this out. But she kept looking and kept looking, and she kept finding bargain after bargain after bargain. And so it finally forced us to leave Texas in January and to come to Missouri to look at this land. So the first one we looked at was 10 acres, but we just weren't interested in that one. There was a lot wrong with it. And so we looked at several more. And finally we found this one. And of course, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but man, it was bargain basement pricing. It had a well, didn't have a well pump, which I'm going to talk about that more in detail in a minute. And so we bought it, $4,200. And like I said yesterday, $7,000 is what it took to get ourselves living off grid. $42,000 for the property, and then the rest was, you know, solar panels, a well pump. And so when we found the property, we bought it. The first thing I wanted to take care of was the well. I had to prioritize what I wanted to do first when we got here. And water was my #1 priority. I knew that we could run electric off the generator. Not that I wanted to run electric off the generator, but I knew I could because we've been doing it for the last 3 years as nomads. But water is so critical to me. It was the one thing that I regretted the most not having in the nomadic lifestyle. And since it had a well, I was going to make sure that we were able to get water out of it. Well, the problem is I didn't know much about wells. Now, my dad has done several wells in his past and replaced well pumps, that kind of thing. But I never really paid attention. When I was a kid, I remember the well diggers coming out to a piece of property Mom and him bought. And they came out and dug the well. But I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know he put a pump in there. That's how little I knew about it. But then when I was older, I saw him replace a well pump. And so I really had to do a lot of research on wells. But here's the thing is I wanted to be able to run the well off a 110 pump. Well, the only thing I could find was an above ground pump. And I really didn't want an above ground pump because I had to have had some way to heat that area in the winter. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, get a light bulb, you can heat it with the light bulb. Well, okay, but that takes electric, something I'm very limited on. Well, then we found on Amazon a 110 7.5 amp pump, deep well submersible pump. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we need. The thing is I didn't know those existed. Dad didn't know they existed. A lot of subscribers didn't know they existed, but they do, and they're on Amazon. They're really cheap, $100. Now I had a foundation. Now I was like, okay, now we can live off grid. I have water. And then the next step of my research was solar panels, which I didn't need to do a lot of research on. I already understood DC electric from, all my years working with DC electric. I've had solar panels in my past. So really the only thing I really need to understand is the new charge controllers. The MPPT, I think it is, charge controller. Once I had that understood, I was set. I wanted to be able to run the well off solar panels. Well, as I've said many times now, Amazon sent me the wrong pump. I'm convinced of it. I ordered a 1 horsepower pump and I'm convinced they sent me a 1.5 horsepower pump. I paid for the 1 horsepower because my inverter won't run it. It's just pulling too many amps. And I know about surge amps, startup amps. I understand that. It should compensate for the startup amps. So I have to run it off the generator. So eventually I'm going to have to get a new inverter. Then Carolyn found this IBC tank. And then we thought, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to store our water in the IBC tank. So we bought the IBC tank for $50. Okay, so now recognize this. August to January, Carolyn was looking for property. January, we found property. In January, we stayed at Mom's house for about a month and a half. We started ordering everything we needed. That's when I was doing all my research about all these components. And then we decided that we were going to just move onto the property. And within a week, we had everything set up. We had the camper sitting on the ground. We had the IBC tank set up. We had the solar panels set up. And we are off-grid living now. Very comfortably. Now, here's what's really interesting. The second week that we got here is when the pandemic broke loose and the United States started restricting travel and movement and, social distancing and all that. So we have not been able to go out and get a lot of things or supplies. So everything that we had, we have to live on. And you know what? We're making it. It has been incredible. So yesterday we were talking about how fearful things are. And today I'm trying to explain to you how easy it was to actually get things going. Even though it has rained 2/3 of the time that we've been here, it's been cloudy 2/3 of the time that we've been here, and we're stuck here because of the pandemic. While I was at Mom's house, I was able to test the solar panels, which is what I explained to you yesterday. You should buy solar panels right now and start playing with them. Learn how they work. Because originally I bought 4 solar panels, and I tested them out at Mom's house, and I quickly realized 4 was not going to be enough. So we ordered 4 more. Now we have 8, and it's doing everything we need. I don't have to run the generator anymore, even on cloudy days. It has been cloudy, like I said, 2/3 of the time we've been here. 2 out of 3 weeks we've been here, it's been cloudy, and the solar panels are charging the battery. And the reason I'm making this video is because I'm really trying to encourage you to consider this lifestyle. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you're interested. I see so many people say, you know, I vicariously lived through you. Well, you may not have to. You may actually be able to do this with very little investment and just a lot of research. That is the key. If you're willing to research this out, you should be able to do it. The solar panels, for example, only cost $75 a piece. That is dirt cheap. And you could buy one and start experimenting with it. Hope I'm inspiring you. Thanks for watching.